Hi. Hello, sir. How can I find you? I'm a little embarrassed to admit it. I pushed the wrong button. I totally pushed the wrong button. That's what happened the last live stream. I fucked up. Pushed the wrong button, and all of a sudden everything ended. Thanks, Cloud. I really am experiencing your voicing of your viewing of me as one of your best internet friends right now. How's your day going? How's Serbia? Have you walk down the street? When you walk down the street, do you go, "What up, Serb?" to everybody you meet? TE and INFJ is bad. Anyway, I want to tell a story of what happens when an ESFP and an INFJ live together. Are you ready for the story, Claude? You're an ESFP, and you're talking to an INFJ. I'll tell you the story. The story Rachel told me earlier. So, Rachel lived with an ESFP girl, and the ESFP girl said this awesome classic. Somebody today accused me of being shallow. So I need to find a really deep song so I can prove to them I'm deep. INFJ roommate, what's a really deep song? I pushed the wrong button, is what happened, Hambone. I have this new mouse and keyboard. I pushed the side button on the keyboard, on the mouse accidentally, and it made me leave that tab for the previous tab, and that ended the live stream. So I'm sorry for my willy-nilly button pushing. But I think that's a story that really explains the irony-proof quality, you know? The quality that makes you want to go, but did you just hear yourself, what you just said? You know? Someone accuses me of being shallow. It was an accident, Ambone. Look, I swear, I didn't mean to come inside you. And I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't just pretend like it was an accident. But I have some plan B here. Would you like some? Got it on the shelf. Yeah, that's true. Well, the other thing, here's the other classic ESFP. So that's one of the classic ESFP moves is someone said I'm shallow, so I need to find a deep song to prove that I'm actually deep. Rachel, what's a deep song? Not getting that if their metric is right for proving that they're not shallows, then they don't pass it on their own metric. You know, it's like that kind of crazy. Now, the other thing though about ESFPs that she told me was her ESFP housemate. She could tell when she was getting too busy because she no longer had time to wash her clothes or take showers. Like, as in, oh my god, hi Rachel, I'm back from the gym. Oh my god, I'm already 5 minutes late to work. I gotta go by. So they do all the shit. It's true. They're very dewy. You checked? Oh, you typed to yourself. Oh, I see, Cloud. Okay. All right, let me get the vacuum, Mambo. Let me get the vacuum and a bucket. We're gonna need a large bucket. Narcissists have a fragile sense of self due to an external locus of control, relying on others to reflect back to them that they are lovable and worthy people, as they are unable to do this for themselves. Now, the thing is, that's kind of a bad definition because it's conflating two different things. The external locus of control is not about relying on others to reflect back to no. It's about refusing to hold the thing, so you're never responsible for keeping it upright yourself. It's a different kind of thing than what they say there. An external locus of control is basically a mechanism to avoid accountability and to avoid actually having to grow at all as a human being. It's a way of saying, I'm powerless over and over again. Now, it might manifest sometimes as needing FE affirmation, but like in that definition, in a lot of ways, I need others to reflect back to me that I'm lovable and worthy. But I'm definitely not a narcissist, and it's not a problem. And it's not an external locus of control. It's FE. An external locus of control is a way of, like I said, a way of avoiding being accountable for anything or believing in one's own agency. It's saying it doesn't matter what I do because everybody else's agency is more powerful and ultimately trumps mine. Now, obviously, guys, the best movie is Bad Boys 3, starring Will Smith and that other guy. Bad Boys 3. I'm saying any FE user, especially in third or fourth slot, is going to have that approach towards FE, that they're going to feel most comfortably assured of their own value and worth when it's reflected back to them by others. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's not the way that quote positioned it is they put that on a normative scale that it shouldn't be on. Basically, that quote you put there said, if you have FE in the third or fourth slot, you're not expressing a healthy form of humanness. Absolutely untrue. But what is unhealthy is the external locus of control. External locus of control means basically you don't take responsibility for being an agent yourself. You're saying, I know I can do things, but if I do things, it won't matter anyway. They'll be washed out in the wash by other people's agency because their agency is more powerful than mine. And since I can't actually do anything, I can't actually affect any change, since my agency and my actions don't really matter, then I'm not responsible to do anything. I mean, I will agree with you, Cloud, that any given narcissist is more likely to be an ENFJ than any other type, probably. But that does not mean that ENFJs are more likely than not to be ENFJs. I mean, to be narcissists. It's just that, like, the qualities that are attributed to narcissists are basically, it's basically exploitation, using other people as a means to an end without concern for how the usage of those people impacts those people, or without considering the impacts of those people legitimate at all, only considering the impacts to you legitimate at all. I mean, you could make the argument for INTJ, I guess, but my point is the narcissistic types are going to be the ones with either SI in the polar or FI in the polar. That's why, Jonathan Buchanan, because ENFJs don't respect the particularist experience of anybody. They tend to function in a world in which everybody's particularist experience is an example of some archetype. And ENFJ is likely uh, uh, oh, well, right, ENFJs. So the thing is, if you don't respect other people's particular experience, that's when you get the reason ENFJs can be narcissists is because they can justify concentrated harm with diffuse good. Um, it's like anybody who can do that can behave in a narcissist fashion if they can do it well enough. If they can justify whatever concentrated actual harm they're doing with predicted diffuse good, that's narcissism in a nutshell. Uh, it's okay that I had to kill him because it helps everybody else. I agree ENTJs are less narcissistic than ENFJs because ENTJs have FI. ENFJs have neither FI nor SI in the conscious stack. Neither does anyone in Beta Quadra. But it's maximally narcissistic in the ENFJ because they ignore FI, which means they're not actually putting themselves in the other person's shoes very often. They're ignoring that consideration. And they are blind to the legitimacy of the particular experience of the other. So it's most feasible for an ENFJ to sacrifice an actual human being in the name of some ideology. INFJs are not so selfless. I don't know where you get that notion from, but INFJs are not particularly selfless at all. I'd say ENTPs are way more selfless than INFJs. I mean, fortunately for Rachel, I'm not really looking for selflessness in a partner. I mean, they are very aware of the other. That's not the same thing as selfless. Yes, PP's here being wonderful as usual. I don't know if you guys have heard, but she's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful kitty. There's no point in denying it. Okay. Stop arguing with me about this. She is a wonderful kitty. I'm not lying this time. I'm cereal. God. I don't think an ISTP narcissist is out of the question. Again, ISTJ is the hardest, and INTP is the hardest. Those two are the hardest for me to imagine being narcissists. ISFJ, I would have been with you on this, except I got to see how damage expresses in an ISFJ. And, I'm not saying she was a narcissist, but I'm saying it's that double standard. It's that failure to understand that another person's feelings are equally legitimate to your own. INTP? I mean, I think what you meet is a bunch of NTP nihilists. That's different. INFPs are most likely to be nihilists, which is also bad, but it's not the same thing as narcissists. Once again, Jonathan Henry, I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you think INFJs are as pure innocent as they claim to be, or are they just not letting on to the devious thoughts? They say INFJs are manipulative. INFJs are not manipulative, and the reason INFJs are not manipulative is polar to E. They're that distant from an interested calculus. They demonstrate an interested calculus in their FI sixths when the world they think demands it of them or expects it of them. But when it comes to making decisions or how they spend the time by themselves, they hate to consider impacts to other people or how they feel about it. They won't make a decision based on those things. It's like you can tell an INFJ, but this is totally in your interests. Come on, you can see that. It won't move them. Anybody can engage in narcissistic behavior. So it's important to distinguish between narcissistic behavior and or stuff that smacks of narcissism versus actually being a narcissist. So when you say somebody is a narcissist, you're saying that they're so frequently or unquestioningly unquestioningly I'm doing narcissistic stuff multiple times and stuff, then okay, you're saying it's a pathology. The difference being, are you doing, when we use the word, are we critiquing a behavior or a person? When you say this behavior of yours smacks of narcissism, you can probably defend that claim pretty easily if it generally does. And you can expect to kind of win the argument about making the claim because it's a fair critique. It's you're saying, I'm not saying you are a narcissist. I'm saying, or that you are narcissistic. I'm saying this behavior, this instance feels narcissistic to me and thereby deviates from your normal good norm. That's a possible critique you can make. If you say you're a narcissist to people, in general, you're wrong, usually, and you're demonstrating the sort of thing that narcissists do. So, on the other hand, occasionally you will encounter an actual narcissist, and you have to be cautious in deeming anybody such because you're being an executioner. But I met a couple, there was definitely somebody in Kimberly's family who was an actual narcissist and who did unbelievable amounts of damage to that family. Okay, well, I would call narcissistic behavior as that which is exploitative of other human beings that without feeling remorse. or without ever dealing with a cognitive dissonance, apparently experiencing no cognitive dissonance. Normally people want to resolve things like, okay, I did this thing, I attain this outcome, but I feel bad. A narcissist is somebody who never pulls up out of the contention level fight to consider the framework. If I love myself and my ambition is not hurting others, I'm not a narcissist. Correct. And even if you do hurt others sometimes, you're not a narcissist. To be an actual narcissist, you'd need to they want to control the other people around them because they don't like the lack of control that they have over people because they don't understand that people get to be equally important other agents. So I'm sure I'm getting distracted by other chats. It's difficult to stay on point when I look at the chat while answering. I got to ignore the chat while I'm answering. Jester's Court is an INFJ who tries to manipulate people. It's pretty pathetic, but he tries. He recently said his flow state. I may be small right now, but I might be big someday, and you'll need to deal with me, and I might choose not to deal with you. Indian scammers that scam people constantly would be examples of narcissists. I mean, it really depends on a lot of factors. Like, one can imagine somebody ending up doing that kind of thing without having ever really considered the moral implications of it because they got into it young or something. And you can be bad without being a narcissist. Not all bad people are narcissistic. It depends on some subjective data points, right? How the person themselves is thinking about it and feeling about it matters to whether or not they're narcissists or just people who are human, therefore sinners, Okay, well, look, this is where you may or may, I don't know you, I don't know your dad or anything like that. I don't know. When you say those words, I don't know if you're talking about actual narcissistic shit or if you're just talking about ESTJ shit. My dad's a control freak. My dad appears to only care about his feelings, but he is definitely not a narcissist. And the map and the territory look very different. Like my dad's map looks, you might make the argument he's narcissistic in some way by just looking at the map, but the actual territory is very different and you got to manage that shit. Managing map territory shit is one of the biggest challenges of being a human being. Remembering that the abstractions with which we communicate are ultimately territory map shit. But because they're how we communicate as well as what we're referencing, it's kind of impossible to not at least sometimes confuse territory and map. All right, so I'm going to respond to Groff Baynier's nonsense. I think it's developed, Jonathan Buchanan. I think it's nurture, not nature. Although I think there might be exceptions, like certain kinds of sociopaths might be nature. I've heard enough anecdotal evidence to be convinced of it from like parents of normal guys. We had two perfectly normal happy kids, and then we had Joey, and something was wrong with him from the start. He broke his sister's arm when he was 4, that kind of shit. Makes you think. There's definitely instances of it that are in nature. Okay, so where's this one? Because modern women have no idea how to exist without equating their existence in relation to a male, even though they reject the very idea of whatever it is. I mean, why do you think that? That's not my experience of modern women. But even if I think it is the case that most people find it an important part of their identity if they're in a relationship, male and female, right? So if asked like to describe myself, I won't get too deep into the list of descriptors before I mention being in a relationship. But I'm a father, I'm a boyfriend, I'm a son, those kind of things. I don't think any woman equates their existence in relation to a male. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, I exist because of a male, or I exist because the male needs me to exist, or the reason my purpose for being is to spread my legs. I mean, I don't think most women think that way. And I think to the extent they do, just many men think my purpose is to fuck as many bitches as possible. you know? That's funny that it's in type place. You'll notice that I don't believe that's a problem at all. Like, I have no ownership of the concept. People are obviously entitled to make whatever kind of fucking videos they want. And, good luck to them. But that guy is nuts. I mean, I couldn't even watch for 5 seconds of his shit, but because it was just like, ay, ay, ay. Dion Jansen, hi. I have my suspicions about man. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, there's not really any difference between psychopaths and sociopaths. They're two different words for the same thing, which is basically no, I take that back. I'm sorry. I take that back. There's a difference. I think they're used colloquially like that. They're used the same. They're used interchangeably. Okay. I think they probably oughtn't to be used interchangeably. Psychopath is a sociopath without antisocial aspects. So in other words, they presumably don't have any empathy, but they're not antisocial at all, right? But they are okay with using people, but they're not okay with incurring social consequences. So I don't know if that's a good definition of it or not. They have no fear, psychopaths? Okay, well, I mean, Okay, so if you want to make a distinction between those who lack empathy and fear, I guess, and those who lack empathy and fear and are also engaged in antisocial behavior, then fine, make that distinction. But as far as I know, there's not really any other distinction to be made, is there? And there's not really a distinction about what's wrong with them. It's a distinction about the outcomes, the symptoms of what's wrong with them. Listen, Matthew Alster, I will stop fucking your bitches when I fuck them all. Okay? I've told you that already. You'll get your wish. Just be patient. That's just the scale of how much you're ready to sacrifice for your wants. You can translate that to MBTI. You'll never see ISFJ sociopath. Probably not. You probably will not see many ISFJ sociopaths. It is the case that your introverted sensor has a kind of security about them that is derived from the fact that what they can always sort of retreat to is the immediate attending to their physical state of being. And the higher up it is in the stack, the less bored they are by it, I guess. Countess Matthew is not being antisocial, okay? I'm currently using him in one of my human exploiting experiments. That's why he's saying these things. Don't worry, I'll throw him aside when I'm done with him. When I've used him up, I'll throw him away. Hypergamy isn't a thing. It's interesting. I was having a conversation about hypergamy the other day with Rachel. Why is 97% of recipients of alimony female? I mean, I don't agree with that. I agree with you that the U.S. criminal justice system or civil justice system, family law system, is not does not treat men fairly. I agree with that, but that's not a reason to hate women. And hypergamy, it is a thing up to a point. I would suspect that it's very rare, actually, for any woman to leave a relationship because someone of higher status has lured them away from that relationship. That's just not the reality of relationships. Like, let's say Frank James were to start hitting on Rachel. It wouldn't matter what sort of promises he made to her or how great the conversation was. She'd have to know that she'd be a lot less secure in her position in that relationship than she is in this one. So it still doesn't make sense for her to pursue that. And reality is sort of always like that. Your degree of security in a given relationship depends mostly on your partner's attitude towards security in a relationship. And most people of either sex, male and female, have had some damage done to them in relationships or have been damaged by having difficulty figuring out that whole business of dating, all that kind of shit, you know. So it's easy enough to feel bitter, either, especially in your youth, if you've either not had a good relationship or if you had a good relationship that you thought was good and ended in the girl cheating or something, the best advice I can give anybody is don't reduce other human beings to members of their group. You by doing so, you choose to join the one group that we all have disdain for, a groupist. So I think Cloud does a pretty good job of arguing his points, actually. In fact, I have on multiple occasions doubted he's an ESFP. It makes sense as a biological imperative in regards to evolutionary biology that a woman should seek out the best mate. Okay, well, but a woman is not merely an expression of biological imperatives. So, it might be a biological imperative for me to fuck as many bitches as I can and impregnate them all, because after all, I'm in a time period where there aren't any consequences for that because nobody can prove that. And I'll just skip town and nobody will ever find me again because it's a big wide world and there's no communication that really locks anybody into anything. Yeah. So obviously, that sort of biological imperative framework doesn't really work. We can falsify it really quickly by just looking at the obvious example that it's not the case that I'm controlled by my biological imperative. Okay, so it's also not the case that women can be boiled down to their biological imperative. And it is not the case that a woman will go with whomever provides the greatest socioeconomic benefits. It is the case that women like Kimberly divorce their first husband, who's filthy rich and providing whatever she needs, because why? Because she didn't feel he was emotionally connecting to her enough. And therefore she went the other direction. She went from high status to lower status now on purpose because she's that freaking nuts, But that's her. Each chick is an individual person, a human being. If you want to spend all this energy reducing women to their biological imperatives, why don't you spend an equivalent amount of energy reducing men to their biological imperatives? I mean, if you reduced me to my biological imperatives, I'd point out, no, I'm not actually like that, though. I'm not like these biological imperatives that you have established with your arguments. And we can think shit tons of examples of women who aren't like that. So why are you so eager to establish this general rule? Why is that my best strategy? It's not my best strategy. It's my genes' best strategy. Except my genes don't have a strategy. And my will has to do with experiencing my own lifetime, not the genetic, health of my line down the road. I don't give a fuck. I didn't say I'm lower status. I didn't say I was. But my point, Grump Bayoneer, is if that is my biological imperative, and it is true that I could do so, if I chose to do that, I could break up with Rachel and I'm sure manage to get laid plenty. So if in fact if people are controlled by their biological imperatives, then why am I not like that? A simple counterexample that falsifies your rule. Now you're only applying the rule to women for no reason. So it's just not going to fly argumentationally. I know, but you are equating women's genetic makeup and drives with their conscious decisions. I'm asking you, why are you not doing the same for men? So are both, is this true what you say here? I'm not equating your genetic makeup and drives with your conscious decisions. Does that apply to both men and women? Is that what you're saying? What's the most manly function? SE, I guess. I don't know. Okay, fine. I'm a good squatter when I have a chair in front of the toilet. That I have now in front of my toilet. I've got Barry the bathroom mouse chair, and I use it to prop my feet up when I poop. It really helps the poop to just flow freely from you with a kind of a sound. Kitty does look comfy, doesn't she? All right, I'm not sure if I've made this announcement before, but I want everyone to be aware of this. I've checked all the documentation I could find, and it turns out that Kitty here is a very, 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 very special lady. Very special, extremely special lady. So, for those of you who were saying she was non-special or ordinary Kitty or special but just regular special, not very special, I checked literally all the documentation I could find, and very, 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 very special. Okay. So now that we've got that straightened out, I think it's time for a cigarette break. She is a warrior Kitty. It's true. Look at the warrior. Be careful of her warrior ways. Cause she needs a kiss on the head. Yes, she does. Oh, I love you with my heart. I do. I love you moistly with my heart, my dew, my deepness. It's true. I'm constantly dampening your urgency. Oh, oh yeah. I'm jostling your undercarriage and dampening your urgency. I love you, my kitty friend. You're very special and good and true and just and fine. It's true. I'm not lying this time. I'm not. Not this time. Usually, yes, but not this time. I do want to say something else about hypergamy. Hypergamy is probably an NI phenomenon, a lot more than an SI phenomenon for chicks. So your SI DOMs, your ISTJs and ISFJs, um, and your FI DOMs as well are probably contraindicated towards hypergamy. The SI DOMs because they're more heavily indicated towards familiarity. The longer you put in with them, the more kind of attached they get to the familiarity, assuming everything goes as it ought to. Whereas the NI users are much more prone to hypergamy. And in fact, Rachel was sort of nervous about my exhibiting hypergamy until I explained the difference in our perspectives through SI and NI. And I said, you don't get it. I'm not judging you according to an objective calculus. Am I getting a good deal for my dating capital or something? Can I do better? I'm judging the quality of the relationship on the quality of my experiences. And my experiences are good. And so I'm happy, it's like nothing else to say about it, really. It's like she makes me happy. That's all there is to it. And I also indicated that I get the fact with her NI frame that she's going to judge me as a partner according to that kind of universal metric. But I'm fine with that because I score well on that metric. I'm a good boyfriend. And part of the reason I know I'm a good boyfriend is that I make a point of doing at least the minimum acceptable thing that qualifies as objectively good boyfriend so that I can make those arguments later. Now, the point is, it doesn't matter why I'm doing it. It just matters that the reality is it's hard to objectively establish that I'm not being a good boyfriend because I don't want to ever be able to, I don't want anybody ever able to win that argument. It's pergamy? Okay. Wait, hypergamy? Okay. So listen, we had this discussion already, Horse Mumbler. And as I said then, and I'll point out again, you may be right that hypergamy specifically refers to women seeking more high resource men, and it doesn't ever work the other way around. But the point is, since there's not a word for male hypergamy, and we can conceptually apply the mechanics of hypergamy the other way around, then I'm going to use the term to refer to the mechanics of hypergamy and not specifically to it applying to women and higher resource men. If there'd like to be a term for it the other way around, then fine. If there should be a term that specifies the other way, then fine. Because I do think that the other way, it's just instead of status or resource, it's basically the trophy wife phenomenon. It's like, I don't want a chick who's successful professional who has more degrees or something. I want a chick who's young and hot. So that's hypergamy of some sort, whether you want to use that term or not. We can come up with a different word for it. Is there a word for that? Hypogamy. Okay, fine. Hypogamy. Is hypogamy moving like, the trophy wife phenomenon? Okay. All right, so there's a word for it. Fine. Then I'll use that word. I'll have to explain what it means every time I use it, but that's fine. I appreciate the education. If I am using it wrong, I do want to correct how I'm using it. And if there is another word for it, then fine. I'll use that. And does hypogamy specifically indicate that it's men looking for younger, hotter chicks, not more successful on some other metric? So I mean, my question about all those dating apps slash MGTOW, like pickup artist slash MGTOW stuff, red pill, blue pill stuff, is your advice prescriptive, normative, or descriptive? Like, are you just describing the reality so that people understand that people are more likely to be the average woman, generalizing out all populations of men and women, the average heterosexual woman, but are they hypogamous? Grumph, Bainry. Would you say it's factually incorrect that they are hypogamous? Hypogamy is marrying down? Okay, but look, the reality is this. Men, when they do that thing, they dump their old wife and get a young hot chick. Women, when they do that thing, they dump their low achieving husband for a high achieving man. So that's the actual phenomenon. We can come up with words that specifically mean that if everyone's so upset about hypergamy and hypogamy, but that's what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm not rich. True. I'm older. True. And I'm balding. I'm balding quite a lot. True. And I scored Rachel. True. But those things there, not rich, older, and balding, are three factors that count against my social status. But I've got a lot of other factors that raise my social status, and those outweigh those factors that count against it. So overall, I've got quite a bit of dating capital from an NI perspective. And I think for SI users who don't have experience with somebody they're considering dating, they tend to default to the NI point as well. From an NI perspective, people around here anyway are going to think I have dating capital. I may have additional. Please show me the man who marries up who isn't rich. What do you mean marries up? See, that's the thing. Okay, so what you're saying there is, yes, that's my point. Many people would give up in your position. I mean, I there were times in my life when I did give up entirely and just said, well, chicks don't like me. And I don't know why exactly, but they just don't like me like that. But they still like to hang out with me. So, I'm going to try not to be bitter or anything. So, I mean, the reality about perception management is it's when people encounter me, whether it's out in the regular world or on the internet or wherever, they're gonna generally perceive me as somebody who's confident. Like, I don't display a lot of fear, and there are a lot of cues that may not be explicit that suggest to people that Um, I'm less scared than most other people. And this is really when we talk about confidence or charisma or whatever, it's really the absence of fear is what makes it up. It's the absence of fear. And the absence of fear can look like a lot of different things. Uh, when when you begin with an actual relative absence of fear compared to other people, then you don't ever even think about the display quality really, because um, the display of that reality is unavoidable. I can't not display it, you know? Uh, the fact that I'm at a point in my life now and things have worked out well enough and shit that it's actually the case that I appear to be a fair amount less scared than everybody else I encounter, pretty much. Even people who are more successful than me. It it eh, I only conclude this because not because I'm looking for it, but because it's made apparent to me so many times that it's obvious that people are reading a lot of shit about me, and they are impacted by what they're reading in a way that would serve me well if I were single still. Uh, but it serves me well with non-romantic things too. Like, serves me well when I'm a customer. It serves me well when I start up a conversation with somebody randomly, which I occasionally do. I don't usually initiate a lot of conversations, but occasionally I will make some sort of joke or something to a stranger nearby. Um, the thing about those dating sites and stuff is they're trying to tell you this is how you display, this is how you fake it till you make it. This is how you display the kind of confidence that women find attractive. But it's a fool's errand. Even if you succeed, then what are you going to do? Keep up this fake display indefinitely? Or you already know going in that you're just faking her out long enough to better? It's ugly either way. So, uh, Hambone, I think you're winning this argument on the hypergamy point. Homopogamy. That's what it'd be called, Hambone. Homopogamy. Okay. Oh my God, he's so homopogamous. What's that? It means that he's a gay man who's with another gay man who leaves for a third gay man who's of equal status but more well hung. Let's make this simple. Person X has an IQ of 160. No one gives a shit. They need to create and accomplish something. Well, I mean, it's absolutely the case that a person with a high IQ who's not creating and accomplishing something will not have any of the sort of confidence that women find attractive, because they will know fundamentally that they're wasting their potential and will feel bad about it and will feel themselves unworthy, because if they can't even use the gifts that have been given to them to accomplish anything, then why would anybody else find them of value, kind of thing. This is where the problem INTPs have. They're self-aware enough to present to themselves the harshest critique of their own SE failures, and they are concurrently uh, able to project that self concept onto the people who interact with them. That's a fun way to reclaim the word idiot. Horseman Burr, I like that. That's you're really claiming some ground there. I like that. It's a bold claim. You aren't fucking around with muskets and sabers. You're bringing out the nukes right off the bat. What am I looking for? What am I doing? I'm getting another beer. Actually. No, I have this coffee instead. I should probably smoke another cigarette too. God damn it. Of course you are. Oh, the endless frustrations of physical objects and spatial relationships. It's like, will you stop being an object in space, please? It's so fucking annoying. You guys know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Does that make any sense? I hate when people say, if that makes sense. Do you think, I'd like you to go to the store and maybe get a loaf of bread, if that makes sense? A loaf of what? No, you're making no sense at all. I hate that expression. Of course, what you said makes sense if it makes sense. If it didn't make sense, then why did you say it? And if it does make sense, then you must know it makes sense. And you're really saying if that makes sense because you don't want to ask me if I understand, because that might be condescending. Of course I understand. And it either did or didn't make sense. If it didn't make sense, don't worry, I'll tell you. Countess, what are you testing? Are you testing my blood type? HF6 positive. It's a very unusual blood type. It's the best blood type. That's what they say. They say it's the blood type of kings. Apparently, my type of blood comes with divine right, which is pretty good. That's pretty good, right? It's like, that's the blood you want. Comes with divine right. That means God wants me to rule over you with an iron fist. So if you're into iron fists, you are in luck. Let's play pin the eye on the Q. IQ is what makes smart people smart. Yeah, IQ matters. It's very important. Yeah. Turns out, look at your IQ, you can see what kind of job you should have. People at 130, it's a great IQ. Accountants, though, not anything more than that. So, yeah, you better do what you can. Clean your room, slay dragons. Get a good score on this standardized tests. That really matters. Is emotional intelligence a meaningful assessment? Yeah, I think so. I think it is is a meaningful assessment. But I don't know if any given score on it is going to be a meaningful score. Like, I'm not sure how well it can be reduced to a single score, but you can meaningfully talk about a person's emotional intelligence. Like, is there a particular test that's called the EQ test? Although really it should be called the EIQ test. It's going to be called the emotional intelligence test. But you know how that goes. People don't always listen to me. I give them unsolicited advice like this, and a lot of times they just ignore it, believe it or not. Like, I can't even recall how many times I've given amazing advice to the Florida's Natural brand grapefruit juice company, and they have roundly ignored me. Roundly ignored me. IQ is silly. It's a silly thing. Who is wanting me to move to Florida? Emotional intelligence is the greatest indicator of overall life success. I think the only meaningful indicator of overall life success is self-reporting. How successful do you feel overall in life? Everything you say or think is an opinion. Some of those opinions are objectively justified and some of them are not. Some opinions are facts as well. But the fact that you believe that fact or affirm that fact, uh, that you assert that fact is true, that's your opinion. You could be right. Your opinion could be right. The distinction between fact and opinion is a silly one to make. The distinctions that need to be made are what kind of statement is it? Is it descriptive, prescriptive, predictive, or normative? That's an important distinction to make. Um, and it's a meaningful distinction to make. Unlike fact and opinion, it's almost impossible to meaningfully distinguish between the two terms. Um, every attempt to do so presumes something in the process. No, it's not useless. The problem is it's either one of two things, usually. And you're lucky if you find anything that's both. It's usually either useful or true and not both. The problem with much of the critique of personality theory is that they're trying to legitimize it on the wrong metric. So they're saying, well, we need this to be a scientifically justified claim that's justified by statistics and by data that is intentionally gathered for the purpose of establishing certain hypothetical things or whatever, That's sort of the sciencey way. But personality is never going to be subject to that exactly because it's an open system. In other words, people, when they know what you're doing, can behave differently. There's the role of the active observer in the equation. So any meaningful articulation of personality is going to, first of all, reject the notion that people have attributes such as conscientiousness or openness or agreeableness. People do not have attributes. Now, a smart person would say about the big five, well, it's not saying you really have attributes. It's saying um, those aspects of your personality that manifest in ways that are perceived as openness to man by other people. But even so, you're really not doing anything there. You're just saying, I've found these common commonalities of attributes between people, but I've not explained anything about why they have them, what it means, or whatever else. Like one of the problems with the big five is I read an article not that long ago about how there's supposedly these very small percentage of the population that are like super types on big five that get high openness, high agreeableness, high conscientiousness, low neuroticism, and what's the other one? Extrovert, high extroversion. Um, Cloud, we both have access to the same data. It's objective, namely Ham Bone's history of comments that he's written or chats he's written. And I can tell you without any doubt that any objective assessment of that objective data concludes that your statement, the lack of logic as a parent, is contraindicated by that data. In other words, that claim ought to be and is easily countered by simply pointing to the fact that it's factually untrue, that all the data suggests he's quite logical. Well, I think we all agree that we can find a part of the world that's flat and a part of the world that's honest, that's sloped. So, you know, the world is both flat and sloped in various locations. Usually it's sloped, but occasionally you'll find a flat spot. Poof, you're a computer program. There. You did the test of Jordan Peterson? What did Jordan Peterson's test do? School does require you to suffer. I mean, the problem with school is it's not consensual. I love Stargate. Debunked. It's an oblate spheroid. What is the Earth? I'm pretty sure, Grumph Bainery, that my point is not exclusive of yours. Herm do both. Jordan Peterson is interesting. I agree. He's very interesting. And he's also frame locked. I mean, he's not a meta analyst, I guess I should just say. Therefore, inferior. Kurt Russell is boss. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. Now, you want to talk about the thing? Well, I'm gonna hit back on this. I'm gonna push a little bit back. I'm gonna mention a certain romancing the stone. Would you like some aloe? Did you forget about romancing the stone? I never even saw the thing. Is it about Kurt Russell's penis? To refer to his penis as the thing. When is not being able to focus more desirable? Why do you judge Jordan Peterson non-meta? He's not a meta analyst, meaning he's a um, he's in I guess I would say he's an executive. He's an ENTJ. So he's got a universal tool function, which is why he's always talking about archetypes and stuff. But he's got a particularist frame. So when you ask him, well, what about truth? He says, the truth is you should clean your room. You know, it's he likes talking about abstractions as abstractions, but when you ask him to justify shit, he always justifies it with TE stuff. When you ask him how to apply a universal in a particular, he always does so in the TE frame. Schizoid personality disorder is crazy low introversion. I mean, I got a crazy low introversion score on my Big Five test. I don't think I have schizoid. You know, Dionne Warwick is my spirit animal, coincidentally. It's true. My Native American peyote guide helped me to find her. Who's all over the place? I think that it's not the case that personality disorders are extremes in Big Five traits because people don't have those sort of traits. Yeah, I'm diagnosed as ADHD. The thing is, the thing to note here, Cloud, is um, it's not that there aren't some people who benefit from ADHD drugs. It's that that doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with them. It's possible to sort of artificially improve yourself, you know? Like just because I benefit from working out doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. If I feel like I'm benefiting from getting big muscles, it doesn't mean I have to also agree there's something wrong with me for having small muscles. It doesn't work like that. I'm denying my gayness for Kurt Russell. I don't remember denying that. I mean, he's a he's a macho fellow, that Kurt Russell. He's got that unshaven, manly ruggedness, and he's also got a really relatable kind of soft side too. I always thought strengths never come without weaknesses like ADHD and sensory things. And that's really the bottom line of it is ADHD is a description of something that is not in and of itself a good quality, namely difficulty focusing or focusing for long periods of time or being able to willfully apply a decision to do something and stick to that for any period of time. Like today was ridiculous. As I was coming home from work, or even before then, I like when I ended up finally deciding to before work, I was like, okay, I've got a couple of hours before work here, a few hours because it got pushed back to 8 to 10. What should I do with my time? And early in my thinking about that, I said, you should take a bath, eat some food, and go lie down because you need to do SI attendance right now or you're going to be in trouble. And then I ended up doing that. But in the process of doing that, before I actually ended up doing that, I I went over 15 or 20 different possible things other than that I could do. And I almost started doing multiple of them. It took some discipline to force myself to stay on point here. And remember, Eric, you're going to have to go to work in a few hours. You need to take a nap. So, so it's important to remember that when we're talking about ADHD, we're talking about the bad side of a configuration imbalance that also has a good side. Like, yes, I have attention. I have willful follow through on decision problems. Or what really ADHD is, it's a motivational disorder. People with ADHD have a difficulty staying motivated to do the shit that normally gets counted in life. That's such bullshit. They medicate their children instead of parenting. Oh my god. The idea that parents who get medication for their kids who genuinely are experiencing some of the negative consequences of extroverted intuition and extroverted sensing in the dominant function, to conclude that those people are bad parents or are not doing a good job of parenting or haven't tried multiple other things is fucking insane. Completely fucking insane. If you're going to critique something like that, critique the reality of school instead of the parents. The reality of school is such, it cares so little about the ontology of the students that many parents, in order to do what they genuinely believe is best for their kids and make sure their kids get the education the parents genuinely believe they need to be successful in life, they go so far as to put their kids on speed. Not because they're bad parents. It might be because we have a horrible fucking understanding of what childhood is for and school and stuff like that. The thing is, I'm I'm continuing to grow. I recently had this experience with mental illness that I never really understood or respected what it meant to have a mental illness until I experienced it myself with my girlfriend. And now I treat the subject very differently. Uh, I mean, it's not like I really had any policy advocacies or anything about it, and so it's not like that's changed. But what I mean by treat the subject very differently is I prior to dealing with Rachel's episode, I guess I never really believed that it was what it was portrayed as. I always figured it's kind of just a form of self-indulgence or something. It's not at all. I was, That's the limitation of being an SI user is until I experience something, I kind of don't believe in it. And I mean, my dad is the ultimate example of that. Until he experiences something, he doesn't believe it. He felt a great deal of satisfaction today because the home cashed his check finally. He wasn't really ready to believe that she was in and accepted until he saw it in his bank account. Now, I believe it. Groff Bainry, I agree with that statement. No word should ever be illegal. That doesn't mean no use of words should ever be illegal, because one can conceive of obviously criminal uses of words, but no single word should ever be illegal. The F word? I think we know what you're talking about. I do, I think. I agree with you, Tim Bulwer. Asperger's is, like ADHD, a description of a cognitive function configuration. Cloud, I like that argument a lot. It's a good argument. Of course, it only really proves that the ninja school system sucks, but still, I like the point. I mean, I find there's one of two things that earns the following statement, which Taylor came up with. I'm quoting Taylor here. The biggest human rights violation campaign that everyone's cool with refers to either drug laws or school. Because basically, school is a human rights violation campaign run amok. We begin our children's lives by teaching them that what they want is secondary to what others want of them. I think that's unfortunate. Well, I hope that the lady that I met the other night, who was not former serviceman but was in the service industry, was not traumatized by my interaction with her. I didn't do anything traumatizing. I was very chill about the whole thing, but she was obviously traumatized to some extent by her challenge with my bill. She didn't hear the story. She tried to charge me $9.50 approximately for a cup of coffee and a Coke, and I looked at it, and she really had a lot of trouble. Pizza Girl, no, the girl at Waffle House. I don't know who Pizza Girl is. Legalize all drugs. Well, as president, I would do what I can to impact case law such that the matter is removed from the federal government's jurisdiction. That's the most I could do as president regarding the drug war, is remove the federal government as a player in the drug war, which ought to be the case regardless of your position on drugs. Regardless of what your position on drugs is, it's more likely to be represented by your state than by the federal government. So let them deal with it. She was not a hooker, Hambone. She worked at Waffle House. And the problem was they have a rule there. The rule is if you get takeout at Waffle House, they add 10% to your bill. And homegirl had been trained how to do this and tried what her training had showed her how to do. The order of operations or trainer had showed her on how to do this. Did it multiple times and kept coming up with the same answer. And I kept trying to say to her, look, the total is 509. Yeah, 509 plus 10% of 509. It's 560. And she kept going, no, 240 plus 240 plus 29 cents tax. That's 509 plus 440 is 949. Well, why did you put plus 440 there? It's a 10% thing. But that's not 10% of anything. Why can't you legalize heroin? Why should drugs be state, not federal? Because they're not among the enumerated powers afforded Congress and thus are reserved for the states or the people themselves. How will legalizing heroin damage me big time? Legalizing heroin won't make me do heroin. Okay, well, right, but Cloud, consuming bleach will also damage me terribly, and yet it's legal for me to buy bleach. Stabbing myself in the head, okay, was true. So, but it's also the case that making heroin illegal won't stop people from doing it. And making it legal, or at least decriminalizing it, won't actually result in more people doing heroin. Portugal tested this with their change in law, and in fact, heroin use went down. That's actually not true. That's actually not the case, Cloud. It turns out that when illegal drugs are legalized, that usage does not go up. And when they're criminalized, usage in general does not go down. Now, if they're criminalized at an extremely draconian level, like Singapore does, eventually drug use goes down. But the cost of that is, ruining countless innocent lives with totally unjust punishments in the particular on the grounds that it's justified in the universal. See, Policia Infrente, what does that mean? Well, remember, Cloud, we aren't starting with a society that does no heroin, nobody does any heroin, and asking ourselves, do we want to begin society with strong laws prohibiting heroin or not? We are asking, in the status quo, should we continue engaging in criminalization of drug users? it is important to remember this. Heroin is not illegal. Being a heroin user, heroin is not illegal. Doing heroin is not illegal. Being a heroin user is illegal. In other words, possession of heroin is illegal. It makes something that's ontological, namely being a drug addict, into a crime. So the thing to remember, Cloud, is you're presuming solvency. Making something illegal doesn't mean that all the providers will go to jail. Here's a couple of important reasons why. In an actual crime, somebody's victimized. So somebody calls the cops, and the cop says, "Who did this to you?" And the person says, he looked like this. I have a picture of him. I took a picture as he was running away. Here, maybe you can figure out who it was. In a drug crime, it's not a crime. Nobody's victimized. Nobody calls the cops and says, "Hey, I'm about to do a drug deal. Come bust us." So as a consequence, it's not the case that making shit illegal produces an end to the problem. After all, both parties involved in a drug deal assume they're going to get away with it unless one of those two parties is a cop. Well, look, here's the thing, Cloud. Just because it is possible with enough authoritarian, unjust application of force and threat of force against human beings to eliminate from society's behaviors drug use, that doesn't mean we should do it, because you're not factoring in what must be done to accomplish that. Everybody's rights have to be trampled upon. Since nobody calls in drug crimes because they're consensual, in order to catch drug criminals, all of a sudden privacy gets obliterated. All of a sudden rights against search and seizure get obliterated. Because how are the cops going to bust drugs if they don't go do a bunch of active investigation? They have to go looking for drugs and people who have them. The other way it manifests is like this. The cops pull you over for a perfectly small thing, like an infraction, like running a stop sign, but they don't like the way you look or something like that. So they manage to search your car and they find drugs. Now all of a sudden, even though you didn't do anything at all, just because you're a drug user and so you have drugs on you, you're going to jail. And now all of a sudden you get involved in the criminal justice system. You have to spend all this money and time and resources in it. It's sometimes life ruining. Look, Cloud, the thing is, Midnight Blue says it killed my boyfriend. Trust me, I know, Cloud. What I'm saying is, Cloud, in the status quo, it's illegal. And it doesn't stop people from overdosing. No, I mean, it's illegal, Cloud. Seriously, like in the United States, they've got the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, that does nothing but go around chasing drug crimes. Every cop in every state of the United States if they pull you over and you look kind of like an addict, and they manage to successfully search your car and it stands some sort of constitutional challenge, then they will arrest you if they find that shit on you. For sure. You will go to jail. But note, people still do it. If it were decriminalized, you'd probably have a lot fewer accidental overdoses. You wouldn't have that situation that somebody mentioned here where they say that it's supposed to be, they say this is heroin, but it actually has fentanyl in it. You know, that wouldn't happen if it were legal. Suicide is illegal. Yeah, exactly. Horse Bumper, thank you for mentioning that. Flow State had his life turned upside down because of that type of tyrannical bullshit. He's got videos about people, including kids, who were killed in room for nothing. He deserves more subs. Yeah, he's a good guy. Don't say that, Angantier. I'm removing that comment. Yeah, well, I mean, everybody should hear this particular song that I forget about. I should remind myself to play it periodically. I'm gonna play it for you guys right now. Oops. Let me change the audio out to the speakers so y'all can hear it. It's an important song. It's a song of truth and justice. Perjurer. He's a perjurer. Perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. Colluding with him is Tracy Beverly. That's why she's not arrested him, I guess, Jim. Undersheriff Barrett, perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. I said, Undersheriff Barrett, he's a perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. Colluding with him is Tracy Beverly. That's why she's not arrested him, I guess, Jim. Undersheriff Barrett, perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. I said, Undersheriff Barrett, he's a perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. Colluding with him is Tracy Beverly. That's why she's not arrested him, I guess, Jim. Undersheriff Barrett, perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. I said, Undersheriff Barrett, he's a perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. Colluding with him is Tracy Beverly. That's why she's not arrested him, I guess, Jim. Undersheriff Barrett, perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. I said, Undersheriff Barrett, he's a perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. Colluding with him is Tracy Beverly. That's why she's not arrested him, I guess, Jim. Undersheriff Barrett, perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. I said, Undersheriff Barrett, he's a perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. Undersheriff Barrett, perjurer. Undersheriff Barrett, he's a perjurer. He's a perjurer. He likes to perjure himself. Yeah, that's pretty fucking sad. Pretty sad. Pretty challenging moment for an audience member regarding Walt as well. Yeah, I know somebody who's a methadone addict that what is this? Autoplay? God damn it, autoplay. I knew somebody who who was a methadone addict who got addicted to opioids or opiates or whatever, um, because she went to the doctor with a pain problem related to her pregnancy, and they prescribed that shit for her, and she ended up getting addicted to it. And when they stopped giving it to her, she started buying it off the street, or some sort of equivalent, and eventually graduated to methadone. What's Whack MC? Is it one of my songs? I mean, Cloud, you're right that the reason is quote unquote to feel good or suffer less, but the real reason people do drugs depends on a lot their personality type. Like, I started doing drugs because they were incredibly appealing to me before I ever did any of them. Um, I probably first became kind of fascinated with them in the anti-drug lessons in elementary school, because the anti-drug people made them sound like magic, like a potion you take in Dungeons and Dragons that would change everything all of a sudden magically, and it wouldn't change the outside world, it would change who you are in some way, like give you sudden extra strength or something. um, I don't remember. Okay, Jake Hurwitz, I think I might know what you're talking about, but I don't think I have that thing. I don't think it exists anymore because my old computer broke. All kinds of shit going there. Of course, it's possible you're not talking about what I'm thinking of, and you're talking about like Rap and Eric, um, and just have named it the wrong thing. In which case, that's a different matter. That is up, but neoliberals and conservatives don't know a thing about reality because they're in a bubble and are not in the same working class as most Americans. Look, people with different politics than you have different politics not because of some ontological flaw of them, like being in a bubble, or some ethical failing of them because they're wicked. It's they have a different particular experience and probably a different frame test combo than you. Um, it's the key thing to successfully engaging politically amongst ourselves with each other is going to be allowing ideas to be talked about independent of people. So if we're saying this particular policy is a good idea or a bad idea, let's figure that out on its merits and not allow, to the extent that we can manage to do this, not allow its success or failure to be attributed or linked to either or any particular group. Let's try to talk about policies that are beneficial to everybody, and to the extent that we can, give, to the extent that we have to, give a little bit of credit to each group so everybody's happy. Um, because any American who thinks our problems are going to be resolved by your side winning is wrong. What happened? What's the problem? Did I do something? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, Eileen. Yeah, she needs some self-care time. I encountered that phenomenon myself in life plenty of times. Uh, Joel Ethan Henry, you know, I actually, what were they for? Like psychotic breaks and or bipolar mania or schizophrenia or something? I mean, okay, so what I'd say about that Joel Ethan Henry is Rachel explained to me at some point during her psychotic break that the reason she stopped taking her meds is because she liked it. You know, I'm not gonna lie, she liked that experience of going fucking batshit crazy. Uh, I respect that, but I like getting drunk. My inability to do so in a way that helps me to be an optimal version of myself confers on me a duty to not get drunk. And if you've been diagnosed for that stuff, on meds for that kind of stuff, I'm not talking about a disorder like ADHD or anything. I'm talking about an actual mental illness like psychosis, schizophrenia. If you were diagnosed with those things, if you've been hospitalized for those things, and they tell you you need those drugs, then you should take them. And the fact that you feel good not on them is not evidence that you shouldn't take them. It is evidence that you should probably. So that's my advice to you. And I don't normally give unsolicited advice of that sort. But in this instance, my personal experience links closely enough to your situation that I feel safe giving the advice that I'm giving. That it won't do you any harm for sure, and that it would probably be a very good thing. It's very expensive, Cloud. Too expensive, frankly. Arizona is so much cheaper than Los Angeles. If you have a $2 million house, how expensive is it to live in Los Angeles? Well, the answer would be $2 million for housing anyway. How much per year is that in taxes? Oh, you want to know what your property taxes would be? It depends where in Los Angeles area you live, and it depends on a lot of things. You have to figure that out. It'll take some figuring. I don't know, Cloud. Thing is, kind of fun. I keep scrolling back up in the chat, and as far as I can tell, I have not ignored her. I I responded to one thing she said, and you know, she didn't say much else. I mean, I had it on top chat, but I don't think that usually makes much of a difference. Like she said, we always want to cure the symptoms, never the real cause. Nobody responded to that. And then the next thing she said, quite a lot of intervening comments later, was, why do we even write here? Prior to the symptoms one, it doesn't go up that high. I don't know why it doesn't go up that high, but it doesn't. Change the problem, not work on the symptoms. Okay, I guess I didn't respond to, yeah, this is the wrong way. Start why people using drugs, the real reasons. I mean, the old men always send the young men off to war, then they steal their wives. Funny but true. All right, see you later, Bob. You're doing a great thing for your country. Yes. Oh, Mary, I know it's so sad to see Bob go. Oh, come here. Come here. It's okay. I'll be here to comfort you while he's gone. Okay. I mean, I haven't been on Facebook even. When did you? It's like, come on. You don't get all freaking. Yeah. It's not like I'm ignoring her more than I'm ignoring other people. She just sent it to me today. I haven't even been on Facebook today. When? I don't remember seeing any reminders. Where? In the chat here? Okay, so I have been engaging with Cloud a lot. I mean, so I've been going down the thing and reading what seems interesting to me out loud, like always. I don't remember seeing any reminders from her to check anything. I may have just missed them, but if I did, I genuinely missed them. I didn't see anything of hers that said, check your manating yet, or anything that really seemed like it was shouting out for a reply. Except after I read one thing, then I shortly thereafter read something that said, you're ignoring me or something, but I just finished replying to that other thing. So she must have written that before I started replying, I guess. The point is, I've not been primarily engaging with Cloud, I don't think. I'm engaging with a lot of different things. Okay, well, Tim, you and I probably feel very similarly on the military industrial complex. And very similarly on bailouts that are actually bailouts. But the truth is, for example, the car company bailouts got paid back in full with interest. So, they're not really bailouts. Bank, another matter, different story. But I understand the reasoning behind it's so tone deaf. But you and I probably disagree on your MSM media point in the sense that I don't think there's a I don't think there's any sort of like collusion, intentional cabal stuff. And I don't think there's much we can do about it because the media people watch is the media they want to watch. They have a lot of choices. They could be watching me. They're not choosing to. That's not the mainstream media's fault. That's the reality of things. That it's not currently in the status quo. People's preferred medium of political engagement to engage with politically like this. Most people prefer to, in the status quo, engage with media like Fox News or MSNBC, because at least they're hearing new stories all the time about politics, not just hearing discussions of it in the universal abstract and or my particular plans in politics or something. Thank you, Cloud. That's correct. That's totally right. You say there. I engage with you because you had good arguments and they were worth engaging. And I ignore you when you say dumbass shit. Sure. Now, I don't ignore Dark Phoenix because she's saying dumbass shit. I ignore a lot of things she says because they don't seem to require or provoke any response. In other words, they're not challenging anything that I agree with, or they're not running afoul of anything that I assert, and they are not asking a question, and they aren't very open-ended, so there's not really necessarily anything to say about them. Like, we should treat the problem, not the symptoms. Okay. What is your political position, Eric? On what? I notice you, Angantier. I see you there. I see you. Good job. I see you. Oh, kitty friend. Are you back? Oh, Hambone, don't shame me so vigorously. Shame me less vigorously, please. You're gonna jostle all the jolliness out of my testicles. Galtan? I'm not sure what that means. Should I know what that means? I have a feeling I should, but I don't. Oh. Well, I'm what's known as a correctist. So basically, I don't score on that scale because any given question is either particular enough for me to provide an answer, in which case no correct testing would generalize from that answer anything about me, or it's not particular enough for me to meaningfully give an answer, and therefore my answer won't be meaningful if I give it. So yeah, those tests are dumb. What I choose to do instead of reflecting a ideological group name in any way is be correct on every specific individual policy matter. Probably just sort of logically the better way to go than the heuristic of ascribing yourself a group label or group limitation. I mean, like, most people are groupists to some extent or another, and the only way I can avoid being the enemy of all groupists is to be a member of no group. Winston's mom's validation is much more tender than mine. I have an easier time validating when you're making me feel like I'm having a good time, not necessarily praising me or whatever. I have an easier time validating somebody when I'm enjoying my experience with them than when I'm not enjoying my experience with them because they're being difficult. Winston's mom has a knack for interpreting behavior correctly and dealing with it accordingly, and has a positive effect on me by making me more attentive to that. So what I'm getting at is that most suffering doesn't manifest as the obvious manifestation of suffering that looks like boo hoo hoo, I'm crying, and I feel emotions and oh, like that, right? Most suffering doesn't sound like that. Some does, but most of it doesn't, because really, probably none of it ever sounds like that, to be honest. But you know what I'm getting at is the point. Like, there's a couple different manifestations of douchiness, right? Like, I could be a douche because I'm young and brash, and I need various FE checks in order to hone my display into something that doesn't push people's buttons. Or you could be a douche because you are suffering a lot and it's kind of a toxic expression of your suffering. As they said in this movie I watched one time, a drowning man will flail around and try to grab whatever he can to keep himself from drowning. And that includes sometimes other people who are in the water above him drowning. So, or something like that. I don't remember the exact quote. But it's like, you can still choose if you want to condemn the drowning man for unfairly grabbing the non-drowning man and pulling him down in an effort to save himself. But you got to acknowledge there's some mitigation there, right? And the last disconnect was my fault, Winston's mom. It wasn't a buffering problem. It was I pushed the wrong button and ended it. So hopefully we're not buffering now, but it's not going to drop all of a sudden. It didn't drop all of a sudden last time. I just pushed the wrong button. I think she winked at you. I think that's what that was. Nyan? Eric is lying to you? I'm not lying this time. What a beautiful kitty friend. I can't believe that Countess accused Kitty of lying to me. Oh no, accused me of lying to Kitty. I'm sorry. I got this. I keep getting this backwards. Because you didn't put a comma after Kitty, Countess. That's why. You needed to put a comma there. Anyway, I was about to go smoke a cigarette. Do you guys think that it's possible, maybe, that you might be able to, for just a couple of minutes, if it's okay, if you're not too upset by this request, might you, baby, chat amongst yourselves? I think some good lyrics for a song would be, "You can touch my body, you can say my name, but hands off my illocutionary frame." What do you think? Good lyrics? I think so. Kitty thinks so too. Okay. Let's play a game. The game is as follows. I'm going to say a series of words, and they will all, the words will each link to the same thing. For example, if I were to say, if I were to make it very easy, I would say crying, bottle, nipple, diaper, and what would the answer be? What do all those things have in common? Or what are they all about or whatever? What's the link? What's the common link? Baby. Thank you, Candace. Okay. Now, the one I'm going to give you as an actual test here is harder than that. Okay. So it's going to take more words than that probably for you to figure it out. The challenge here, the rule is you only have one guess. So you have to decide, and whoever guesses it right first wins. Okay. But you only have one guess. So if you have to have enough NI certainty that you've narrowed it down to the single right answer to justify wasting your guess, quote unquote. Because if you guess the wrong thing, no, not like phrases, it's still going to be. Well, I mean, the thing. Okay, the what I'm going to do here is it references something that could be described in a couple of slightly different ways. It's not exactly one word, but it's one thing. And I tell you what, we'll do another practice one before I do before we do the real one. Okay. So this is a practice one. I'll go at the pace I'm going to go, and when you think you've got the correct thing, and put the answer down. Okay. So this will also be easier than the one I have in mind to do, but it'll be harder than the last one. I have to think of one now for this extra example. Okay. Paint. Connection. Number. Level. Gray. Car. Stopless. On ramp. Lane. Yeah, highway, freeway. Highway or freeway. Like that one, the problem is I need to find some sort of intermediate terms to bridge the ones that are distantly connected from the ones that are closely connected. I have better ideas in mind for the one I'm going to do for the real one. The rules are, to repeat the rule very simply, I will do a series of words. You only have one guess. So, when you first hear the thing, you might have a couple of different. I said paint, not color. The lines on the highway are painted. So Anyway, the rules are I'll say these words one at a time, and they all link to something, the same thing. And when you think you've got the thing that they link to, say what it is. Okay. So, my first clue for this one is envelopes. My second clue is waiting. My third clue is debt. My fourth clue is football. Incorrect, Cloud and Angantir. So clue 4 is football. Clue 5 is community service. All right. Yeah, Countess, you got the gist of the thing. The answer is the college admissions process. Okay. So I would say that's close enough. Scholarship for this particular game. You have one guess, only one guess. Hi, Nicolay Shea. So what I had in mind was college admissions process, but scholarship is close enough to count as the right answer, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. I think based on the words I said right there, scholarship was the best answer. Right. Okay. So I will try to play it again if you guys want to play it again. I'll try to do. Let me plan it out a little bit instead of trying to do it any style, because my any may be highly developed. I'd like to think it is, but this is not the sort of thing that's conducive to just using any. It just isn't the sort of thing that's conducive to using expert intuition. It's more conducive to using a little SI assistant called Notepad, a little bit of TI deliberation. Give TI a little more time to get in the mix here. Look, the thing is, I would say there's a bias in the question towards Americans, but Countess is the one who got it. She's not American. So let me see here. Eric, please say this out loud. Smoking face. Cloud says hi to you, Countess. Oh, that's what you want me to say out loud. Cloud says hi to you, Countess. All right, so I have to pick another turn here. Okay, I've got one. I'll put on some music. Let me put on some music. That'll make me feel like less of a bad live streamer. Don't be a bad live streamer, Eric. Don't. Being a bad live streamer hurts our heart. Aw. Don't have your heart hurt. I'm a star. Turns out, though I was filled with many years of doubt, I'm a star pouring water from these jugs. Few boobs, some hair. I never knew what was under there. Now I see that I am a super big star. Go ahead, make a choice. Uncertainty just hoists ambiguity on my shoulders. Why can't others seem to choose? Always going outside in search of the news. Figured I was mystic, full of cups. I'm deep as a seer and know what's up. I'm some kind of internet guru for sure. Tentacles and swords remind me of bar chords. You gotta string them together to make a decision. Make a decision. All right. I want to
Once upon a time, a long time ago, I was a little kid walking out in the snow, except there wasn't no snow here in Southern California. Too warm for snow, but I don't want to bore you with the weather. Whether or not you find it clever or boring or love it.
All right. I want to try this one a little bit different. I'm going to give you only 4 words, okay? I'm going to have only 4 words, and I want you to guess as precisely as possible what I'm referring to here, okay? So the thing I've got in mind is a two-word expression of the sort. The last one I did was college admissions. It was like that sort of, Notepad is the thing that comes with Windows that you can just type into little notes and stuff. Anyway, so I'm only going to say 4 words this time, and your job is to get as precisely as possible the 2 words that I've represented these 4 words. The 4 words are public, vacation, camping, and preserve. Public, vacation, camping, and preserve. So the first person to guess it correctly, but you only have one guess. Yeah, you both got it. Hambone wins, so you got it first. Is that too easy? Okay. Now I know that's a little too easy. It's national park. I said national parks, but I'll say national park. All right, let's try another one. I'm gonna try make it a little more difficult, maybe. I guess I don't know. Hambone and Mumbler got it, but Countess and Midnight Blue got the wrong thing, so maybe it wasn't too difficult. All right, let's try another one. I like this game. It's fun. All right. Let's see. Okay, I got a good one. All right, here we go. 5 o'clock TV affiliate banter. 5 o'clock TV affiliate banter. I mean, Hambone shows up first on mine. Horse Mumbler goes Hambone, then Horse Mumbler. The closest one so far is not, I wouldn't say it's quite been gotten yet. It's not, nobody got the exact thing yet. So I'm going to leave it if somebody wants to try to clarify a bit. Thank you. Tim Bulwer gets it. It's local news specifically. The affiliate is where you can deduce that it's got to be local because it's not the national one, it's the local affiliate. That links to local. So I think it's a fair distinction to say Tim Bulwer gets it, even though Midnight Blue said news. Okay, let's try another one. All right, let's figure out what I want to. I'll try to do less America questions. Okay, my bad. They're for non-Americans. I will make an attempt to not be so America biased like that. I'm sorry about that. That's bad test making on my part. That's bad error test making. Okay, so all right, here we go. I got one. Okay, this one, I'm only giving you 2 words to figure it out, if you can. The 2 words are ships and Christianity. And the thing I have in mind is just 1 word. So the thing you're trying to link to is just 1 word. The 2 words I'm giving you are ships and Christianity. Okay, let me add another word. India. Ships, Christianity, India. And I would put here Commonwealth. Commonwealth. Ships, Christianity, India, Commonwealth. You can have multiple guesses for this one, so everybody's adding words as we go. Civilize. Ships, Christianity, India, Commonwealth, civilize. Eric Estrada is correct. No, it's not Eric Estrada. I like that answer a lot. Ooh, so close, Roosevelt. So close. I'm gonna probably have to give that one to you. The answer I had up here was colonialism. Colonialism. So I think you got. Yeah, I think you get that. You get that. Colonialism. Good job, Roosevelt. Winner of colonialism. Nice work. Nice work. All right. Here, I have another game we could play. Now, this game is called Count to 10. Okay. The way this works is the group, all of you guys, are going to try to count to 10 without ever stepping on each other's toes. But you can't plan it out. Okay. Now, you have to start with 1. So basically, one person types 1 in like this, right? The number is fine. So just like that, 1. Okay. And then the next person type 2, the next person type 3, the next person type 4. Okay. And the thing is, no, it has to be, you can't do 2 in a row. Okay. You can't do 2 in a row. You can only do 1. But in a row. You can do, so if I do 1, I can't do 2, but I can do 3 again. But I can't do 4 if I do 3. But anyway, the point is, now, when I say start, not before I say start, but when I say start, we'll start the game. And the goal is to get from 1 to 10 with anybody can put 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever without there being 2 of any of the numbers. So in other words, you got to make sure when you push 2 and push enter that somebody else isn't pushing 2 and enter at the same time. In other words, if you're doing this out loud, as I've done with a group out loud plenty of times, somebody goes 1 and somebody else goes 2, but some third person also says 2 at the same time, and then you go, sorry, you lose, group. And the rules are the group wins if you successfully get to 10 without 2 people saying the number at the same time, and the group loses if you don't. So I'm about to say start. I haven't said go yet. It hasn't started yet. Okay. I lose when you win. When you win, I lose. Okay. All right. So anytime you get 2 at the same time, you have to start over. Okay. So time starts now. You can't skip numbers. I said that, Roosmoose. Have start over now. That's to be in order. Up. You have start over. You lose. No, you have to start over. There's 2 2s. You have to have 1 through 10 without any duplicates in there. There's 1. No, Count has fucked it up. This is a funny game. So I think I'm going to probably excerpt this section of this video and make a video out of this section showing the live chat with some like hilarious music going underneath it in the background as you guys flail away. But if you could actually successfully accomplish it, it would be a dramatic end to it. It'd be great. You know what's a good subtitle for this game? How to Torture a TE Dom. You guys train a bit. Why is this big? This is totally how to torture a TE Dom, right? The rules are you can't plan it out like that. It's a game that denies the TE Dom any TE solvency for a problem that seems like it should be very easy to solve because the rules are you can't plan it out. You can't do two in a row, horse mumbler. There's two twos. Everyone just relax. Just let the numbers flow from your body. Oh, hilarious. How to torture a live stream audience. Your wife is asking for a divorce. You're right, Tekken Como. Tekken Como. Tekken Como. Angantier, don't fuck around. Oh my god. What have I done? What have I done? What monster have I created here? You can't cheat like that, Winston Small. That's cheating. Oh. That's so funny. Okay, I'm gonna strum a tune or two on the guitar here. Probably. See, I'm not even tired now. God damn it! This is the problem with taking naps. That's funny. Oh my god. That's what makes it so hilarious. That's what makes it so hilarious. It's like an awful carnival game that's weighted so dramatically against the participant that it's just like living in a trailer. Look how Discord it's causing. Oh, it's good stuff. What's this one? It works great with a group of actual human beings in a room. It's a great icebreaker because there's a lot more you can do to make it work. You can do like eye contact and stuff, and sort of read the other people in the room, and eventually a group will usually get to 10. It usually takes a while, but in this instance, this deck is stacked against you. There's just no way in hell. That's what makes it so hilarious. I didn't realize it's how stacked against you was gonna be when I decided to try it. Yeah, it's a good workshop. Icebreaker. That's where I experienced it the first time as a participant in a workshop for work. Some people came in and did that with us. This is the thing. I really just like hanging out here on this live stream. I really just enjoy my time here. Just even if it doesn't, it's like I can't help it. I'm not very good at willfully making my time productive, so to speak, because this is so satisfying for me. Oh my God. Oh no! Oh shit! Oh, so close, so close. You almost did it. You almost did it. I'm definitely rooting for you. Oh! It's too late for the fours. I'll be the play-by-play announcer. Christy enters the fray with a 1, followed by Midnight Blue. Arrives with the 2. Oh no. Clouds fucked it up. Looks like they'll have to start over. Angantyr jumps to the gun with the 2, followed by Midnight Blue, who offers the 3. What's next? 4 by Cloud. Oh, Christy! Too quick on the trigger. Attack on Como as well. Cloud making enemies within his team. Pissing everybody off. It looks like it's never going to be done. This truly may be the 4-minute mile of icebreakers. But Eric, they did do the 4-minute mile. Oh. Cloud on the field with the 3. The group has made it to 3. 4 by Horse Mumbler. There it is. There's the 4. We were waiting for it. There it is. It's arrived on the field. On horseback. Then 5 and 6 in rapid succession. 1 gets the field. Chris D offered that 6 before they saw the 5. 7 by Cloud. Oh no, Winston's mom way behind. Drops a 6. Oh no. Error. They're gonna, I believe, yes, they've ruled this an error. Christy laying into Winston's mom. They made it to 2. Midnight Blue on the 2. 3 by Cloud. Oh, Horse Mumbler comes in with another 3. Countess, that won't work. Countess keeps trying to cheat. The officials are waving her off. No score, no goal, no goal. 1 by Horse Mumbler, 2 by Cloud. Oh no, Midnight Blue kicks the ball into Cloud's face. 1 by Christy. 2 by Midnight Blue. 3 by Cloud. Rapid succession here. Waiting. Pausing. The defense. Alert. 4 by Christy. 5. Angantyr. Oh, Cloud. Cloud comes in with another 5. Sorry, that's an error. Yes, they ruled an error. 1 by Christy. 2 by Cloud. No, Midnight Blue, you can't do that. Waved off, waved off. One by cloud, two by midnight blue. And the ball's in play. Bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. Christy with the 3, 4 by cloud, 5 by Incantier, 6 by Christy. Rapid succession, they've gotten through 6. We're waiting, the ball's bouncing, bouncing. Oh, cloud. Oh, cloud. You should have broken it. Instead, you lost the game. Christy, midnight blue with the 2. I'm sorry, everybody. 3 for Christy. Oh, horse mumbler. Oh, he mumbled the wrong equine this time. Dolan, you've not missed a whole hell of a lot. This is trying to drive me crazy. Damn, you can't do that. That's cheating. Waved off, waved off. Oh my goodness. I have to share with everybody. Oh, good Lord. The adorability is constantly astonishing me again. Yes, it is. Oh my goodness. What an adorable kitty friend. So special, just and true and good and fine and special and good and true and just and fine and special. That's cheating, Dolan. That's called cheating. If you want to be a cheater, go ahead, but you're not going to have any friends. Nobody wants to hang out with a cheater. Did you know that you could register with Marvel? Yeah, you told me one time. I should do that, but I don't. How am I talking with my mouth closed? My ventriloquism skills. I've got excellent ventriloquism skills. They know me. You call me the ventriloquist of the stars. Okay, I gotta go too. It's 3 a.m. I've been for 3 hours on the live stream. It's almost 3 a.m. now too. So thanks all for being here. Sorry you guys didn't make it to 10. Hopefully there won't be a next time.